Parents, is your child struggling to sound out their words? Try this simple yet very effective tool called Elkonin Boxes. I'm Amy from Omnia Education, and in this video today, I'm going to explain what Elkonin Boxes are, why they are so effective for helping children learn how to read, and I'm going to show you exactly how to use them. Elkonin Boxes, also known as sound boxes, is a phonemic awareness tool that children can use to break apart individual sounds in a word. So they consist of boxes where each box represents one sound in a word. And I really want to emphasize that point that these boxes are to be used for sounds, not individual letters. So for example, if we have the word dog, we can use our phonemic awareness skills to think about how many sounds we're hearing in that word. D, A, G. So we hear 3 sounds. That means that we're going to use an Elkonin box that has 3 boxes because each box represents one sound in the word. Elkonin boxes are effective for a variety of reasons, the main one being that it's building on phonemic awareness skills, which are a key skill for kids learning how to read. So when we think of phonemic awareness, that's the ability to hear, identify, and manipulate individual sounds in a word. And so this is really effective for children learning how to read because then they're able to decode, segment, and blend a variety of words using those skills. Elkonin boxes are also effective building on top of that for helping kids understand that there are different sounds that are within our words, and our words are made up of a variety of those different sounds. It's also helpful for children to work on those segmenting, blending, and decoding skills. And it can also lead to helping them with learning how to spell, as we can connect our Elkonin boxes to print, which I'm going to show you in a little bit here. It's also really effective for kids who are early readers or for children who have dyslexia or other learning differences. And another really great point as well is that it's very hands-on. There's a lot of kinesthetic and multisensory activities that can be used with our Elkonin boxes, making it really interactive and engaging and fun for kids to use and play with. How do we use the Elkonin boxes? Well, there's a few materials you're going to want to get organized first, and then we'll get into our steps of how to use them. So the first thing that you need, of course, is the Elkonin boxes. I do have a free template that you can download just clicking here, and it includes guiding questions, some prompts for how to use them. It also includes some different pages. So I've got pages where there's just 2 boxes, this one with 3 boxes, 4 boxes, and 5 boxes. So you can download my free template and print those out. The next thing you're also going to need is some counters, which I'm going to show you why in a minute, and these can be any materials you have at home that can fit inside the boxes. I've just got some little hooks on handy, but if you have kids at home, you might have fun toys that you can use. You could use Lego, little mini people, little mini animals, stickers. You could use food even if that's something that you want to do and the kids can eat the food after. So any little materials that you can use to put on top. And then you're also going to need a set of words that your child is working on learning. So if they're beginning readers, we're going to work on simple vowel consonant or consonant vowel words. Then we can also think about having a set of words like our CVC words, our consonant, vowel, and consonant words. So once you have all of those materials, you're ready to get started. So now that we have all of our materials in order, the first thing you're going to do is pick the first word that you want to work on with your child. So for this example today, we're going to use the word dog again. So what we're going to do first is say the word slowly for the child to hear and introduce the word that they're going to be working with. So you can say the word dog nice and slow. Then the next step is you're going to ask your child to repeat that word back to you. So they will say dog back to you. Now this is the part where we're going to direct them to using the Elkonin boxes, and you can call them sound boxes for a little bit easier wording for them. This part is we're going to use those phonemic awareness skills and we're going to stretch out the sounds in that word. Now, if the child is not able to do this on their own, this is where the Elkonin boxes can come in handy to start using them right away for this step. If they kind of have some idea, able to orally segment the sounds, then you can do that first and then transition to using the Elkonin box. So for example, we might say, how many sounds do we hear in the word dog? And they might say d, a, g. But if they're having trouble counting that, if they're having trouble separating those sounds, that's where you can get out the Elkonin boxes. And we're going to use one of our counters, so one of our little tools, and we're going to place that one sound per box. So we'd place 1 for d, ah, g, and let them actually move those pieces into the boxes, and I'll show you here. So here's what it will look like using our Elkonin boxes for that example of the word dog. So we've just gone through saying the word aloud, we've just gone through segmenting, and now we can use our little counters. So I'm using these little hooks to segment each of the sounds. So for example, we have d, ah, g, and we can use these dots here to tap, and we can use the arrow to slide. So for example, d, ah, g, dog, to segment those sounds and then blend them together. And then we can take the counters off one by one. So for example, if I take this one off, d, what is that sound? How do we spell it? We can write a D. And then we can do the same for ah, and then g to connect that sound to print. After this, if your child is at that stage of connecting those sounds to print, you can remove those counters, and you can even put your Elkonin box in a plastic protector sheet or laminate it, and you can actually have them write on top of each of those boxes with the actual letter. So for example, you can start asking them, what is the first sound we hear? And you can point to the counter in the first box, and they will say D. Then you can ask them, how do we spell that? Then they can write a D, and you can continue doing that with the ah and the g as well. So a little tip is to start with words that have just 2 or 3 sounds, depending on where they are at, and then you can move to more complex words and more boxes on the sound box page as they are progressing through. So the great thing about our Elkonin boxes is there's a lot of variations and variability with them. So while I do love using these, and I'll usually have it laminated or in a sheet protector, there's a lot of different things you can also do if you don't have access to this, or you want to kind of switch up the use of the Elkonin boxes and use them in different ways. One of those ways is using a whiteboard. So just like the Elkonin boxes, we're going to use the whiteboard to represent 1 line per sound. So instead of using the boxes, we're going to draw lines on the whiteboard, and you can follow the exact same process. So for example, if we're still working with the word dog, we would follow all of the same steps, except when we get to using the Elkonin boxes, now we're using the whiteboard. So when the child is working through, and they can do the lines themselves, but when the child is working through those individual sounds, we can draw the line for them or ask them to draw the line as well. So for example, we have D, ah, g, and then they can go through, what is that first sound? D. How do we spell that? Then they can write a D, and the same with O, and the same with G as we're working through each of those sounds. So a whiteboard can be a really great tool if you don't have access to laminating the Elkonin boxes or you don't have sheet protectors. This is a great way that you can still use that same approach while it can be really quick and easy just erasing and moving on to the next word. There are lots of digital tools as well. I really like using the letter tiles from Really Great Reading, and it's really great because they have little boxes you can use, they have all the letter manipulatives that you can use, and it's all digital, so it's great for on the go or just to switch things up, another form of tool that you can use to support your children. As kids are starting to move up in their reading, they're starting to work with more complex words that have digraphs or blends or vowel teams. We really want to still remember and teach them as well that each box represents 1 sound. So for our digraphs, there's 2 letters that are going together to represent 1 sound. And so even though, for example, the word ship, we have sh, I, p. So even though there's 2 letters, that sh sound, we're still putting those into 1 box because that's 1 sound per box. So if we're looking at our Elkonin boxes, we would have sh, sh, I, p, sh, I, p. So there's still 3 sounds, even though there's 4 letters. The S and the H are going together in 1 box. And that would be the same for vowel teams and trigraphs and those different spelling combinations where then more than 1 letter is being used to represent that 1 sound in the word. So as you can see, the Elkonin boxes are a really effective, easy, adaptable way to integrate this tool into teaching your child how to read and supporting them on their learning journey. If you found this video to be helpful, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to grab your free copy of my Elkonin boxes template. See you next time.